Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Very knackered. Just literally come back from the airport, from Frankfurt, London City Airport, which I think I've only gone through at night and jumped straight on a train once afterwards. It's a really cool airport. It's a bit of airport talk there to start the video, which I was not intending to do. Yeah, and up front, the other problem, which was the same as Northland Derby, was that final ball. Oh, it was dreadful. Look, I'm not going to go into the whole Kulusevski thing again. It's pretty obvious by now. They miss his guile and creativity, his ability to play a through ball. Of course they do. He is superb, Dejan Kulusevski. I just hope he's back soon. But Harry Kane, Son Heung-min and Richarlison are good enough players to be able to string a decent ball between each other about 6 yards. They really are. So there's no real excuse. I actually felt a little bit differently. I saw some people kind of having a big go at Son on social media after the game. I actually, personally, thought he was the brightest and most probably dangerous looking out of the three. I thought he was the one that looked like he was going to create stuff, and he did. But he played one in for... Oh, there was a really good curling ball. Who was that for? Was it Kane? Oh, it was the one that I think Romero got a flick on, and then Kane at the back post couldn't go out and get it. And then, obviously, there was the one where Sonny got into the box. I think he did a really clever dummy, then went, and Richarlison knocked it to him, and then he whips it across to Kane. The only thing I would say is he whipped it so hard, and also kind of in the area of his nether regions. It could have been at his feet, could have been up his head, but no, it was right there. So kind of Kane had to thrust himself at it. I think it would have been a very painful goal to score. I think it was the only way he would have got that ball over the line. I'm intrigued to see now, because you've heard me talk about Sungmo Lee, South Korean journalist who I know does like translations of these videos for South Korean audience sometimes. I'm intrigued to see how he now transcribes this section about Sonny playing a ball to Harry Kane's nether regions. Very intrigued to see what the translation of that will be for the Korean people. But yeah, I thought Sonny was the best of the three in terms of passing. I do think Sonny's problem, and maybe it's a confidence issue, but I think his problem was the dribbling. There was quite a few times when he was dribbling and there was just one touch in the middle of the dribble would give the ball away. There was one, I can't remember what it was. I remember it's like a second touch really letting him down. I do think that's a confidence thing. And that will come back. You know, that is just one of those things. It's a temporary issue. But I got the stats because I saw kind of people complaining about Sonny's passing, and to me, I was sure I was seeing it the other way around, that Kane and Richarlison were having more of an issue, and the stats do bear that out. So Kane's passing success rate was 61.3, Richarlison's was 60.9, and Son's was 84. So there was a big difference in their passing. I do think it was mainly his, like his dribbling was just his touch was letting him down a few times. And there's also the fact that I know this is becoming a big thing in Korea among some fans, Spurs fans over there. And I do think it's kind of fair to say at the moment, but Son and Perisic aren't clicking. They're not yet. I think they will, because they're both incredible players. I don't think it's a case of, you know, I think maybe in Korea, from what I understand, there seems to be a thing of actually Perisic is a bad thing for Son and he's not passing or whatever. I don't know what it is. But I just think it's the fact that they just don't know each other's game well enough yet. And I think that will come. And obviously Son and Sessegnon know each other's game much better. So, like, for example, yesterday Sessegnon came on and within a moment had put across the 6-yard box that Sonny just hit wide. It was a tough one, to be fair to him. It was a tough one to try and get onto. So, yeah, I'd imagine from the outside it looks like Perisic is a bad thing for Son, whereas Sessegnon isn't. But I just think it is two players that have never played to each other. Have just got to kind of learn each other's games, and that will come. It will. It's not. I don't think it's a position thing. I don't think he's pushing Sonny inside or anything like that. I think it's maybe just a case of just got understanding when one stops, when the other goes, and that's how all partnerships kind of are born. What I would say is actually Perisic didn't have a good game. It's probably up there with the most quiet I've seen him in a match. He wasn't good at all, and the problem was obviously you've got Emerson on the other side who's doing what Emerson does, which is get into good positions, because I do think he's got a brain for making really good movement, attacking football movement, but it's just what he does with it. So like Eric Dyer played a terrific ball over the top early on, and Emerson got in a great position, just hoofed it over the bar. And there were a few times when he I think he just kind of gave the ball to Richarlison, which is what he does to Kulusevski, and maybe that is the best thing. But in those instances, you need Perisich to be then a danger down the left. I didn't feel he was really doing that. I think there's a quote coming up later where Conte said about told me about not taking risks. And I didn't feel Perisich did. May have been a fitness thing. Excuse me. It may have been him being wary of his 33-year-old body, constantly bombing up and down a wing twice in 72 hours. It may be, but if that's the case, don't start him. Play Sessegnon. You shouldn't really be having to juggle that in your mind. But yeah, Perisich, I wasn't impressed. I think I gave him like a 5 in my player ratings. I had 5 or 6, I can't remember. It wasn't one of his best games. I do think he probably does need a rest for Saturday. But we'll see whether that happens or not. Sonny spoke after the game. He said some really good stuff. Talking about Conte, he said it's important to listen to him. We saw last season that nobody believed we would be here right now. Last season, nobody believed we'd be in the Champions League. The gaffer always wants more, more, more. And as a player, I want to follow his way, or you know what's coming. If we don't follow him, then you know you struggle. We have to follow. There is no option because he's a winner. And I think that this is what we do. Sacrifice and do the hard things. And he was asked about what Conte's like, his emotions after matches. And he said, we're human. We're all emotional. Sometimes after the game, we're all happy. And sometimes we're all angry and frustrated. The gaffer is more passionate. If we win, he's like the happiest guy in the world. But if the performance is not good and he's not happy, he's the first one blaming himself and wanting to improve. And also, because that's the thing, Spurs scored obviously 6, didn't they, against Leicester, but away from home, they haven't scored a goal from open play in the last 4 away games. It's a little bit of a kind of a funny thing at the moment, and especially with a team with so many cool attacking players, like great attacking quality there. And Sonny said about that, I can't really describe this feeling. To be honest, against Frankfurt, I think we should have scored 2 or 3 goals because we had good chances for Harry and me. This is really frustrating because we know we just need half chances, but it doesn't go in, and this has happened in a few away games. It's not what I want, but it's always tough in the Champions League, and there's never easy chances to score. We are human, and there's still improvement. Obviously, at this moment, it's really frustrating, but we have to move on to better things. I look at it as a team, but obviously individually, I always want to do better. I've never been happy with my performance because I always want to do better things, amazing things, but it doesn't always happen like that. I'm always watching back my games to see what I can do, what I can improve. This season is still long, as I think it is long to go. I'm working really hard to help the team, so it's not an issue, these 2 games, because we had tough games. Sometimes you have tough games and sometimes amazing games. It's all in your mind, so we need to move on, even with these kind of tough games. And this is ultimately, isn't it? This is... Spurs are still 3rd in the Premier League. They are 2nd in their Champions League group. And, Sonny's kind of said, in his own word, essentially they just have to block out the noise from everyone else and concentrate. It's like, he said, this is outside of our group. And talking is something we can't control. As a team, as a great group, we have to stick together in these tough games, because I think these criticisms are because the expectations are higher. So we need to be thinking that way, the positive way. We know we can do much better, but there are still so many games this season. We need to do much better than we did, but I'm still believing that we can.